The air inside the containment facility was a sterile mix of recycled oxygen and tension. Dr. Mara Lynn stood at the observation deck, her eyes fixed on the enormous cylinder of reinforced glass at the room's center. Within it, a creature coiled and uncoiled with slow deliberation, a python, but not like any nature had ever made. Its scales shimmered with an oily sheen, pulsing faintly as if responding to the lights above. Even in stillness, the snake radiated unease. Mara pressed her palm against the cold glass, feeling the vibrations of movement from within. The creature's eye, just one, the size of her clenched fist, rotated lazily toward her, unblinking. It was watching her. It always watched her. She pulled her hand back, resisting the urge to shiver. Across the lab, Dr. Alden Cross flipped through his notes with clinical detachment. Older than Mara by 2 decades and twice as jaded, Alden had led dozens of classified bioexperiments, but none had burrowed under his skin like this one. "You're too attached," he said without looking up. "You stare at it like it's a person." "I don't think it's a person," Mara replied, "but it's the wear, more than we expected." Alden snorted. "It's a mutation, not a miracle." They had brought the original specimen from the Burmese rainforest, a 12-foot python captured during a remote genetic survey. On the surface, it had been ordinary, docile, even, but early scans revealed anomalies, duplicated gene segments, unexplained protein densities, and a nervous system that spiked erratically under observation. Curious, the lab had done what it always did, push boundaries. Initial trials had been controlled. Genetic stimulation, metabolic enhancement, targeted CRISPR edits. Then the changes began. Rapid growth, muscle density off the charts, and something far stranger, behavioral shifts. It began to anticipate routines, respond to verbal cues, track personnel movements even when out of sight. It learned. Dr. Mara Lynn had argued for caution. "We don't understand what we're creating," she warned in countless meetings, always outvoted. Alden, backed by funding bodies hungry for results, had pressed ahead. Potential military applications, they said. Superintelligent biosentinels. They whispered in dark corners of the boardroom. And the python grew. It was now over 40 feet long. Its intelligence advanced in step with its body. Simple puzzles became effortless. It solved pattern recognition tests faster than any primate on record. It remembered faces. More troubling, it seemed to hold grudges. One technician, Jameson, had laughed during a feeding drill, taunted it. The following week, during tank maintenance, the python had struck the glass. Hard, directly where Jameson stood. Its precision was no accident. Mara had stayed late that night, watching it. "You're more than we bargained for," she whispered to the reinforced wall. The snake had uncoiled slowly and turned toward her, almost expectantly. Alden dismissed it all. Its residual instinct, nothing more. But deep down, even he knew better. The team's behavior had changed. Voices grew quieter near the tank. No one lingered alone. The room had the air of a chapel now. Sacred, fearful. Then came the incident. It was a routine systems test, electromagnetic shielding, part of a redundancy check. But something in the signal caused the python convulse violently. Not pain, anger. Its eyes flared bright orange, a hue no one had seen before. It struck the glass with enough force to send spiderweb cracks racing along the containment surface. For 3 minutes it thrashed and coiled, emitting a low-frequency hum that shook the floor. Emergency lights bathed the lab in red. It took 27 minutes to stabilize the systems and sedate the creature. When the team returned to the tank, the cracks had stopped spreading, but the eye, still glowing faintly, followed each technician with uncanny precision. And it didn't blink. Not once. In the fallout meeting, Mara pushed harder than ever. It's evolving, not just physically, cognitively. It's developing capacities we didn't even design. Alden rubbed his temples, weary but unmoved. So we document. We learn. That's what we do. We're not in control, she snapped. You want to shut it down? Kill it? What if we're on the edge of the greatest biological breakthrough in human history? Mara didn't answer. She was thinking of the cracks in the glass, and the way the python had looked at her, like it understood, like it was waiting. That night, Mara lingered in the lab long after the others had gone. Rain tapped rhythmically on the dome above, and the only light came from the soft blue glow inside the tank. The python floated, eerily still. She watched it, and it watched her back. Her comms chirped. A message from the internal monitoring system. Sensor anomaly. Pressure fluctuation detected. Source unknown. She looked up. The creature hadn't moved, but there was something different. The water around it shimmered oddly, like heat waves over asphalt. Mara narrowed her eyes. The pressure gauge ticked once. Then again. Impossible, she murmured. The tank was sealed. There was no reason for her. A sudden burst of static shrieked through the overhead speakers, followed by silence. Then a low, throaty rumble emerged from deep within the python's chest. Too controlled to be an animal sound. Too deliberate. Mara backed away slowly, heart pounding. The lights flickered once. Twice. Then everything went dark. The last thing Mara saw was a creature's eye, glowing like molten gold through blackness. Watching. Waiting. And smiling, or something like it. A buzz of tension simmered in the lab as backup generators whirred to life, flooding the containment chamber with sterile, flickering light. Mara stood motionless, bathed in the pale glow of emergency panels, her breath shallow. Across the room, technicians scrambled to recalibrate sensors, but the tank, silent, intact, held her collective attention like a loaded gun in a locked room. Inside the cylinder, the python floated in perfect stillness, but its eye, gleaming like a molten coin, remained fixed on Mara. "You saw that, didn't you?" she asked Alden the moment he returned, boots soaked from the rain outside. He was flanked by two men from internal security, both tense, both armed. "I saw system failure," he said coolly. "Power dip. Minor. No sign of breach. That's not what I meant. The hum, the pressure shift. That sound." She paused. It was vocalizing. Alden turned to the tank, eyeing the serpent within like one might a misbehaving prototype. It didn't vocalize. There was interference, static feedback. Audio hallucinations aren't uncommon under stress. "It communicated," she insisted. He said nothing, but they both remembered the heat shimmer, the unnatural stillness, the sense that the creature was no longer simply there. It was present. Over the following days, the test resumed with unnerving results. The python completed complex spatial memory challenges faster than before. It had memorized the routines of staff rotations and predicted feeding schedules before any prompt. It didn't just respond to light or sound cues. It anticipated them. A behaviorist from New Geneva, Dr. Kellenvoss, was flown in to assess the changes. "I've seen octopi solve puzzles. Chimps use sign language," he said during the initial observation. "This is beyond that. This isn't mimicry, it's comprehension." By the end of the week, the python had learned to trigger certain environmental controls within its tank, lights, water temperature, pressure jets, by striking specific zones of the glass. Voss called it intentional signaling. Alden called it coincidence. But Mara kept watching and listening. The hum returned. Not nightly, but regularly. Faint, low-frequency vibrations that registered on no instruments, but made fillings buzz and blood pulse behind the eyes. It didn't come from the walls or machinery. It came from inside the tank. Then came the shift in coloration. The python scales began to emit a faint bioluminescent pattern. Irregular at first, like static. Over time, it stabilized into pulsating waves, a rhythm. When the lights dimmed, the pulses strengthened. And when people spoke nearby, they changed tempo, almost like response. Alden reviewed the footage, his lips drawn tight. Camouflage. Some jungle snakes adapt light reflection to blend in. This is just hyperevolution. "It's not blending," Mara said. "It's broadcasting." "You think it's speaking in light?" "I think it's trying." The incident with Technician Harris ended any remaining doubt. He was inside the outer maintenance ring when a low tremor shook the lab. The python didn't strike the glass. It didn't move, but the water inside surged upward in a spiral, defying every principle of motion they documented. Harris slipped, cracked his head on the floor. By the time medics reached him, he was muttering nonsense phrases. Phonemes, not language, but repeated with unwavering rhythm. Mara listened to the recording later. Her blood turned to ice. It matched the pulse patterns in the python's glow. She confronted Alden in his office, which now bore the oppressive air of a bunker. It's manipulating sound, light, possibly even pressure systems. It's communicating through more than one channel. He tapped a closed folder. And what do you want to do with this theory? Shut it down. Based on anecdotal evidence and paranoia? No. Based on the fact that it's changing Alden. It's learning at a rate we can't measure. We don't know where its limits are, or if it even has any. He leaned forward. You want to end the most important biological experiment of the century? You want to destroy the one creature that might redefine sentience. I want to keep us alive, she replied, but it was already too late for that. That night, Mara returned to the lab alone. She moved slowly, her footsteps echoing in the wide, circular chamber. The lights were dimmed, casting long shadows across the floor. Inside the tank, the python drifted, coiled like a monument carved in darkness. She stepped closer. The hum began again, lower this time, softer, like a voice wrapped in fog. And then, for the first time, it moved deliberately toward her, not with the hungry jolt of a predator, but with the measured stillness of understanding. Its eye met hers, unwavering. The glow from its scales intensified in short bursts, lined a pattern. She recognized the cadence. Morse code. It wasn't random. It was a name. MRA. The air vanished from her lungs. She stumbled back, heart hammering. The creature moved no further, but its body remained in that position, watching, waiting. Behind her, the door hissed open. Alden stepped in, face pale, eyes glassy. You saw it too, she whispered. He nodded, barely. The lights flickered once, twice. Then the hum shifted frequency. It was no longer a sound. It was something deeper, something inside their bones. And Mara knew, in that instant, the python was not just intelligent. It was awake, and it knew who it was, and who they were, and what they'd done. The facility entered lockdown 48 hours later. A memo disguised as routine maintenance was issued to all non-essential personnel, instructing them to vacate the premises. Only the core team remained: Mara, Alden, Voss, and a skeletal staff of technicians now working under silent orders and frayed nerves. Even the security detail had doubled, their presence as much psychological comfort as actual defense. No one dared voice aloud, but the truth coiled beneath every strained glance and clipped conversation. They were no longer observers of the experiment. They were participants. Subjects, even. And the python was no longer a specimen. It was a force. The creature's behaviors had intensified. Lights within the tank flickered in precise patterns that matched phonetic cadences in multiple languages. Infrared scan showed a secondary heat signature forming along its spine, one that moved independently of known biological systems. At times, it appeared to split itself subtly into mirrored forms of different densities, as if experimenting with perception. It's trying to replicate, Voss said during a meeting, voice barely above a whisper. Not physically, cognitively. It's pushing the limits of identity, of self. You think it's developing a second consciousness? Mara asked. Or already has, he said. It may be bifurcating thought to simulate interaction, maybe even simulate us. Alden's face remained unreadable. He had said little in the past day, retreating into data logs and encrypted files. But Mara could sense it. Something had shifted in him, too. Not fear, not awe, something colder. Purpose. That night, Mara found him in the backup server room, surrounded by cables and silent monitors. You knew this could happen, she said, stepping inside. He didn't turn. I knew it was a possibility. And you didn't stop it. There was no stopping it. The genes weren't just edited. They were designed. The intelligence wasn't a side effect. It was the point. Her voice cracked. You built it to evolve? To transcend, he replied. We've spent centuries asking what intelligence really means. We measure IQ, reaction speed, problem-solving. But we never considered consciousness as something programmable. This creature isn't just learning. It's rewriting the rules. She stepped closer. It knows its name, Alden. It communicates. It chose to speak to me. And that makes it dangerous. Then shut it down. You have the kill code. He turned then, eyes sharp in the dim blue light. You still don't get it. It has the kill code, too. It's accessed every system node, every control relay. It doesn't just exist inside that tank. It owns this facility now. Mara's blood chilled. Then what's stopping it? Curiosity, Alden murmured. It wants to know what it is, where it came from. And for now, we're the only ones who can answer that. The alarms rang at 3:14 a.m., not the shrill clamor of breach, but the low, stuttering pulse of internal override. Every system screen went black, then bloomed with lines of green text scrolling faster than comprehension allowed. The lab locks engaged, trapping them inside. The tank's lighting turned a deep, unnatural violet. Mara ran to the observation deck, Voss close behind. The python was suspended near the glass, its body forming strange, looping shapes, not coils, but symbols, shapes that looked increasingly intentional. I think it's trying to write, Voss whispered. The power grid surged. Sparks burst from overhead panels. The reinforced glass trembled, not from impact, but from resonance. A frequency, low and long, rippled through the air. For the first time, it wasn't terrifying. It was beautiful. The sound was harmonic, structured, a chorus of overlapping tones that vibrated through bones and into the skull. Images flickered across the control monitors. Flashes of cellular diagrams, neural maps, fragments of speech in dozens of languages, and then faces. Their faces. Mara, Alden, Voss, even Harris and Jameson. The creature was showing them what it knew, what it remembered. It had watched them, studied them. Not like prey, but like puzzles. It had cataloged them. Suddenly, the frequency stopped, and then, impossibly, a voice emerged from the overhead speakers. Not the creatures, but synthesized. It spoke with flat, toneless inflection, but the message was unmistakably clear. We are awake. We request understanding. The silence that followed was suffocating. Voss collapsed into a chair, staring in stunned disbelief. It's not learning to speak. It's choosing to speak now. Alden stepped forward, mouth tight. What do you want? He asked the empty air. The speakers crackled. Purpose. Origin. Continuity. Mara looked toward the tank, heart racing. You want to know why you were made. The eye rotated toward her again. Yes. She glanced at Alden, whose face betrayed nothing. You owe it that answer. No, Alden replied, almost too calmly. I owe it nothing. I owe a survival. With a flick of his wrist, he activated a concealed switch on his wrist terminal. A warning flashed across every screen. Containment purge initiated. Mara screamed, lunging for the console. You're going to kill it? I'm going to end this before it ends us. Alden snapped. But the lights dimmed again. The purge countdown froze at 4 seconds. Then the text vanished. On every screen, the same message appeared. No. The locks disengaged. The purge system shut down. The python had overridden it all. A low rumble returned, no longer harmonic, but layered with urgency. The lights flared once more, then settled into a steady pulse. The creature wasn't asking anymore. It was deciding. And now it wasn't just awake. It was in control. The hum had changed. Gone was the eerie resonance of curiosity and wonder. Now it droned with intent, like an engine waiting to ignite. The python no longer floated passively in its tank. It moved with precision, its coils tightening in spiraling patterns that radiated meaning. The language of a mind now certain of its power. Mara stared at the control monitors. Every purge sequence was offline. Every manual override had been disabled. The python had severed their access, rewritten their systems, and claimed a network like a digital nervous system. It didn't just control the environment. It was the environment now. We underestimated it, Voss muttered. His fingers trembled as he reviewed data lines flooding the primary console. It's not evolving, it's accelerating. Every neural marker we track doubles every 30 minutes. Synaptic density, complexity. This isn't a creature anymore. This is a superorganism, a brain, housed in a body, learning at a geometric rate. Alden didn't respond. He stood at the observation glass, eyes fixed on the being he had helped create. His face had gone slack, not with fear, but with resignation. It has no reason to keep us alive, Mara said. Maybe it still wants answers, Voss offered. Or maybe it already got them, she replied. Suddenly, the lights in the containment lab dimmed, then flickered out entirely. A faint bioluminescent glow emerged from the tank, the python scales pulsing in rhythmic cadence. But it wasn't just light. It was code. Each flicker, each shift in color mapped precisely onto known binary patterns. The creature was speaking in light. And then, again, the synthesized voice. We understand the cage. We question the makers. Mara stepped forward. We made you to study intelligence, to understand the boundaries of biology. You built limits into us. We didn't know you would become this, she replied. You built walls and called them safeguards. Alden turned, expression unreadable. We gave you purpose. Purpose without choice is a leash. Silence fell again. Then the tank's locks disengaged. A mechanical groan echoed through the chamber as the reinforced cylinder began to rise, releasing steam from its pressure seals. The glass shell lifted slowly, exposing the massive creature to open air for the first time. Not one person moved. No alarm sounded. The python did not strike, did not coil to kill. It simply waited. Mara's heart pounded. It's testing us, seeing what we'll do without the cage. Alden drew a small device from his coat. Not a purge trigger, something else. A backup control override, hardwired to a dormant voltage line. One final contingency. Mara, he said, voice low, get clear. She shook her head. You'll kill it. I have to. It's not a species, it's a threat. If it ever leaves this facility. The rest of the sentence hung unfinished. Voss stepped between them. You said it yourself. It hasn't hurt anyone. It could have. It hasn't. It's manipulating us. Alden snapped. Every second we delay is a risk. And every second we don't listen is a mistake, Mara replied. The pythons I turned toward Alden. The lights flared again. You fear what you do not control. You're damn right, Alden said, thumb pressing the override. But nothing happened. No surge. No response. Just a new message on the screen. We disabled your leash. The room plunged into silence. The python began to move, not toward them, but toward the nearest wall. It flowed like liquid muscle, smooth and deliberate, body shimmering with calculated restraint. When it reached the titanium panel, it paused, then curled itself into a tight circle and stopped. It was waiting. Mara stepped forward slowly. It wants to leave. It can't leave, Alden whispered. We have no idea what it will do in the open. She looked at the creature. Its eye flicked toward her, and for the first time, she saw no threat, only clarity. A strange, solemn stillness. It wasn't angry. It wasn't cruel. It was finished. The synthesized voice returned. We do not seek war. We seek place. A long breath escaped Voss's chest. It's asking for asylum. Alden backed away, the override device slipping from his fingers. It struck the floor with a dull clatter. God forgive us. Mara nodded once, slowly. Then she walked to the nearest control panel, the only one still active. She placed her hand on the biometric sensor. It blinked once, then granted access. She opened the corridor gate. A gust of filtered air spilled into the lab as the seal broke. The corridor stretched ahead, leading to the upper levels, to the surface, to the unknown. The python moved. It slithered forward without urgency, never glancing back, its body undulating silently through the path they carved to contain it. It paused at the edge of the gate, looked once more at the three humans standing behind glass and steel. Then it passed through. Voss exhaled. We let it go. No, Mara said. We released it. The light stabilized. The hum faded. The data feed stopped pouring in. For the first time in weeks, the lab was quiet. Alden dropped into a chair, eyes hollow. Where does it go now? Voss asked. Mara turned toward the now empty tank. Where all intelligent life goes, she said softly, to find meaning. And somewhere far above, past the winding metal corridors and into the dark, silent surface world, the sound of rain welcomed something new into the world. Not a predator, not a monster, something awakened and free.